Hey y'all, this is Jocelyn Sams from fliplifestyle.com and the Flipped Lifestyle podcast. I'm really excited to bring you this new YouTube series and weekly podcast. You can usually find me beside my extroverted partner in crime, Shane, also of fliplifestyle.com and the Flip Lifestyle podcast. But today I'm stepping outside my comfort zone just a little bit to bring you some fresh new content about being a female entrepreneur who has to wear a lot of hats. And I'm guessing if you are a female entrepreneur or trying to become a female entrepreneur, that you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that we wear a lot of hats. Today, I'm going to tell you about some outsourcing secrets that I've learned over the years, focusing mostly on outsourcing in the home. But before I jump into that, you may be wondering why I am sitting here in my car. My daughter is actually a member of an all-star cheer team, and that means that I spend lots of hours in my car while she's at practice. Actually, lots of hours in one week, in fact. Um, and it's in the next town over, so it's not exactly convenient for me to just run back to my house. So I spend a lot of time in my car. So you guys will probably see me many, many times recording these types of videos inside my car. So you'll get to know it very well. Instead of just sitting around and like buying stuff I don't need, a lot of times I go into stores, or instead of just hanging out in my car, like listening to the radio, listening to podcasts, I am going to start recording some content. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and I am recording these videos for you guys. So I hope that you enjoy it. All right, let's jump into the outsourcing secrets. So I wanted to say, first of all, that a lot of people find it really normal to outsource in their business, meaning to hire an assistant, to hire someone to do tech problems for them, or maybe to hire someone to build their website. To most people, these things are really normal. But a lot of times it's hard for people to imagine outsourcing in their home. Outsourcing in the home can actually be a lot more powerful than even outsourcing in your business, because it frees up your calendar and your mental space to be able to work on other, possibly more important tasks. Now, let's talk a little bit about what mental space is. Sometimes I feel like in this industry, we kind of just throw that word around a lot without really defining what it means. To me, mental space means freeing up your mind to think of other things rather than the menial details of life. And what I mean by that is, instead of thinking to myself, okay, do I need paper towels? Did the kids get their homework done? Did I mow the lawn? When is the last time we weed eated the garage? Those types of things. That's what I'm talking about by mental space, because if your mind is thinking about those things, your mind is not thinking about starting your business, coding your website, all of the things that you have to do to start and grow an online business. Navigating outsourcing in the home is something that I've had to learn kind of the hard way over the last few years, and mostly because of my mindset issues. And I have a feeling that a lot of the people watching this video right now, you may have some of those same mindset issues. So that is what I'm going to focus on today. So before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about the types of outsourcing in the home that I'm talking about. For instance, you may have a housekeeper. You may hire someone to mow your lawn, take care of your landscaping. Maybe you hire a handyman or a handy lady to fix up things in your home. That's something that Shane and I, neither one of us are particularly good at fixing things and mechanical things. So that's something that we need pretty often. Maybe it's childcare. Maybe it is tutoring or private coaching for your kids in either a sport or something to do with school. Maybe it's just something you don't know very well and you need some help getting them some extra help. Maybe it's a meal service. Some people hire their meals out, like other people cook them. Sometimes they subscribe to a service where food is delivered to their house. So that is an option. And even a personal stylist. And I know some of these you're like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. Like, that sounds crazy. And I thought the same thing until I sort of opened up my mind to the possibility of this. So let's dive into this a little bit, some of these mindset issues. So I know that the idea of outsourcing household tasks can be foreign to a lot of people, especially if you grew up in a lower or middle class family. Shane and I both grew up in middle class families, and while his family probably outsourced a little bit more than mine did, my family very rarely outsourced anything unless it was absolutely necessary. They handled it, and I'm not in any way saying that's a bad thing. I'm just talking about some options on this show. All right, so here are some stories that other people might be telling you, or you might be telling yourself. So the first one is, my parents didn't do it, so I shouldn't do it. And this is probably the number one thing for me as I was trying to wrap my head around the idea of hiring people to come into my home and do things. I just always thought, hey, my mom and dad, they made it work. They didn't need help, and they were able to do a lot of different things and figured it out. Then I should be able to do that too. Another one is, I'm lazy if I can't manage my home and my business. So there's this idea of, if I am not doing everything, then I'm not working hard enough. I'm not grinding. I'm not being a real entrepreneur if I'm not taking care of everything. There's another idea that only rich people can afford this. And that's a huge one that you have to overcome, because really this is not true. And I'll get into that just a little bit more down the line. Some people might tell you, or you might tell yourself, I have so many other things that I could spend my money on. Or I can't possibly afford that while I'm spending so much money to start my business. All right. So if you don't have those hangups about outsourcing, what about these? And this is going to speak to some of you, I know, because I also had these mental blocks. All right. The first one is, the person won't do it my way. I'll hire this person, they'll come in and they'll mess everything up. So there's no need to even try it. Why bother? Another one is, I don't want anyone else to see how messy my house, lawn, my landscaping. I don't want anybody else to see my mess. How many of you out there are thinking that? Because that's a huge one for me. When I first started outsourcing, I was so embarrassed because I was like, oh, these people are going to see that I'm not this perfect person, and that I don't have it all together. And another one is, this one made me laugh, I would never let someone else touch my underwear. How many of you guys can relate to that? Because when you're talking about someone coming into your home, maybe doing your laundry, you don't want to think, oh, that person has to touch my dirty clothes, or some thought like that. All right. So I want to tell you, first of all, that I have dealt with every single one of these feelings. Okay. So if you're feeling any of the things I just mentioned, you are not alone, because these were all obstacles that I had to overcome before we were able to start outsourcing in the home. I am a very logical person. Like, everything has to make logical sense to me. So it took me a while to really get a grip on, how do I overcome all these things. So I'm going to share some thoughts about how I was able to overcome these mindset issues and let someone else take some of these burdens off my shoulders, and most importantly, take my mental space back. All right. So let's go back to the obstacle I was talking about overcoming the idea that outsourcing in the home isn't necessary, or I'm lazy if I can't do it all. All right. So first of all, there are very few things in life that are necessary. I'm dropping my computer. There are very few things that are necessary, but there are a lot of things that can make your life better. Okay. So let's think about a few things. Cable TV, not necessary, but a lot of you might think that it makes your life better. Maybe kids' activities, like this is something that I do. All-star cheerleading. It's not necessary, but it's something that we do because it makes our life better. We enjoy it. Okay. So start to think of it in that way. All right, a big one is opportunity cost. And this is something that Shane and I are really, really adamant that we teach our kids. And if you ask our kids, they can tell you what opportunity cost is. And basically what we tell them is, if you choose one thing, you lose another. So it's just very simple and childlike, but it's true. The concept of opportunity cost is really important, especially when it comes to outsourcing in the home. So you have to ask yourself, what am I missing out on if I don't outsource? So if I am doing the dishes every day, what am I missing? If I am doing my laundry every day, what am I missing? If I am mowing my lawn every week, what am I missing out on? But to go along with that, you have to ask yourself, what do you really want? Okay. And what I mean by that is, what do you want deep down? Okay. So on the surface, you might want somebody to do your work because you're tired and you just need some help. But deep down, maybe you want to spend more time with your family. Maybe you want to have a date night with your spouse. Maybe you want to work on your website that you've said you're going to start forever, but you just don't have time. Okay. That is exactly what I'm talking about right now. Okay. What do you really want? And until you define this, any amount of talking that I do about anything else is never going to make sense to you. So you have to decide, what is it that I really want? Do I want time freedom? Do I want to be able to spend more time with my family? Do I want to be able to spend more time with my spouse? So that is something that is really important in overcoming this idea of these things aren't necessary, or I'm lazy if I don't do them. All right. And then also identify what's standing in your way. So if you want to spend more time with your kids, what are you doing currently that is standing in the way of that? Maybe it's that you are cooking dinner 5 or 6 nights a week. Not me, because I don't cook very often, but maybe that's you. Maybe you're meal planning, maybe you're grocery shopping, maybe you're cooking meals every single night, and that is standing in the way of you being able to take your kids to practice or being able to help them with their homework. Maybe something else is standing in your way. Maybe it is doing the laundry, because you're coming home from work, you're throwing the laundry in, you're folding it, you're putting it away. Maybe that's standing in the way of spending quality time with your spouse every day. So identify what you really want, identify what's standing in your way. Doing those two things alone are going to help you come a long way in overcoming these mindset issues. All right, let's talk about the idea of I can't afford it. Okay, this is something that was really hard for me because Shane and I, before we started our online business, we were teachers, like school teachers in the state of Kentucky, which, as you can imagine, we were not particularly well paid. Okay, so the idea of being able to hire someone to really do anything in my house was something totally foreign to me until probably just a few years ago. Just remember, though, life is all about choices. Look at the things you said you really want. So probably it's something like spending quality time with other people, or starting my online business so I can have freedom in my life. Now, look at all the things you do in your day-to-day life. It's just like we talked about earlier, those obstacles that are standing in your way. So let's imagine that you want to start a business, but instead of working on building that business, you come home after work, you watch TV while you fold laundry. There's nothing wrong with either one of those things. Nothing wrong with watching TV. Nothing wrong with folding laundry necessarily. But think of it this way. If you canceled your cable, you would probably have enough money to pay someone to wash and fold your laundry every week, at least one day. You'd also probably have more time because you wouldn't mindlessly be watching television. Okay. And I don't say these things flippantly. Like, these are things we actually did when we were getting started, because we knew that having freedom to start our business and to move forward in it was more important than things like watching something on cable. Okay. And this is a choice you have to make for yourself. I'm not telling you this is necessarily the right answer for you. I'm just saying this is what we did. All right. So at this point, you have to decide, what do you really want and what are you willing to do to get it? And it's like I always say on our podcast, if something is important to you, you will find a way. If not, you will find an excuse. And this is something that I have to tell myself all the time as well. It's not just me saying, oh, I'm here on my high horse and I'm telling you all of the things you need to know. No, I have to tell myself this too, because I'll find myself making excuses sometimes about different things. And I have to go back and say, okay, if I'm making excuses, it's really not important. All right. Finally, let's talk about overcoming the idea of no one can do it like me. If I'm being honest, this is what kept me from outsourcing for a really, really long time. I am admittedly a control freak, and I am a person who likes things done my way. All right. So I finally figured out, though, and this was from much, I don't know what you would call it, I guess, coaxing from Shane that if somebody can even do it like 50% of the way that I would do it, it's worth it. And you also have to remember that outsourcing is a work in progress. Nothing is going to be perfect the very first day. Somebody's not going to come in and do things exactly the way that you would want them done on day one. You have to work with them. You have to explain your expectations, and you have to meet from time to time and tell people what you want. We have several people who do things in our home, and I still have to meet with them pretty often and say, hey, I saw that you mixed towels with the clothes in the washer. I'd really prefer you not do that. Okay. This is just a learning process and something that you just have to get used to doing all the time. You have to work with the person you hired, and don't assume that if you tell them something one time, they'll remember it forever. It's just like if you have children like me and you tell your kids to brush their teeth and you think, oh, well, I told them to be sure to brush their teeth before leaving the house. And you think, oh, they'll remember it next time. No, they won't. If your kids are anything like mine, I have to ask them every day, did you brush your teeth? Did you wear shoes to school? Like, these are things that I have to remind them every day. And it's the same with people that you outsource in your home. You have to remind them of things from time to time. Don't just assume that they can read your mind. And the best part about it is you're going to love the feeling of not having to worry about every little thing anymore. So we started out with what I call a personal assistant. And this person does our laundry, does our dishes, does our house straightening every day. And that just takes a load off my mind. I know every single day that the house is going to be decently straight, and I wouldn't be embarrassed if someone rang my doorbell. Okay. And I know some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So that is her main job. Like, that is what I told her when I hired her. Your job is to make sure that I'm not embarrassed if someone rings my doorbell, or if they get in my car. Like, that's pretty much your job. Okay, so that takes a load off my mind. I don't have to think about that anymore. I can think about taking my kids somewhere. I can think about what we're going to do for vacation. I can think about the next steps in my business. So that is one of the jobs that we outsource. Another thing that we outsource in the home is housekeeping. So in addition to my personal assistant who does like chores every day, we also have someone come in once a week who does like the heavy cleaning. So she does mopping, she does the cleaning of the bathrooms, like scrubbing of the kitchen, that type of cleaning. We also have someone who does our lawn care. So his job is to come once a week and get the mowing and weed eating done around our house. We have people come occasionally to do things like handyman work when we need it, and some other things here and there. We hire like contractors to do that type of thing. So those are just some examples. And I just want to tell you that, don't feel pressure that you have to hire all these things at one time, because you don't. We started small. We started with one thing. So I just encourage you today, figure out a way to outsource something in your home, even if it's only one thing. Maybe it's mowing the lawn. Maybe it's hiring a housekeeper to come even once a month would be helpful starting out. The thing about it is you can usually pay people less than what you could potentially make from the thing that you're giving up. So maybe it's starting your business. So if you went all in on your business, then you could easily pay this person plus make some extra money as well. So I hope that makes sense. This is my first ever video, and I'm a little bit distracted because there's like people driving all around. So this is probably going to become something that I do more often. So thank you so much for being here. I see that I have several viewers right now. I appreciate you guys so much just checking this out and listening to what I have to say. It's pretty cool. If you need extra help with outsourcing, we actually have a course in our Flip Your Life community, and it's totally free to check it out. You can learn more at flippedlifestyle.com/free. If you like this content, I would love it if you would just give it a like. Just click that little like button and subscribe to this channel. And if you have an idea of something you would like to have me cover in the future, just drop it in the comments or you can email us. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys soon.